You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio once again. We are here today and we have a returning guest. I don't know how many times she's been on. I think she broke the record so far this year. But there's a reason why, because people who have good value, they have something to say. And so we have our returning guest, 3, 4, 5 times, Pam Dwyer. And she has a lot of new things she's doing. She has a coming soon book, Delayed the Binge. It explores how to urge the overeat, overwork, overspend, overgive, emotionally retracting, like, oh my God, I'm pulling my hair out, and on my case, already did that for you. And she explores all the things that might be triggering that, but a lot of times it's just the starting point. It's just a signal. And there's a lot more deeper work that needs to be done to realize the true problem. And I know I'm not doing complete justice because her website is she has a lot of websites and a lot of material. So you can kind of Google her now because she's famous now. You can just Google her and all her stuff pops up nice and neatly on all these podcast shows. And that's the other thing. She has a podcast show herself. So as I catch my breath, welcome back to the show. Damn.
Thank you, Shamaya. I'm so glad to be here. It's my favorite place to be.
That's what a lot of people are saying. And I'm telling you, people like you in VIP section, there's a reason why. Because let's talk about growth real quick before we get into what we discussed in the email. Mm-hmm. When you look at growth, I remember when I first met you. I think you came to the studio the first time, if I was mistaken.
I did.
But to see where you're at now, that's why I told people jokingly, go Google her, because, you took some of my advice, but you had your own secret sauce. But I remember I gave you some advice and I said, hey, we can collaborate on YouTube. It has a new feature. We can help you get views and blah, blah, blah. But it's one thing when you see someone grow and then someone actually does grow. For instance, if my mom and dad, back in the day, they was, all about be accountable, do your part, show up, don't be the one that slacks off and make it a habit. It's okay to be human, but it's not okay to make it, your profession, slacking off. Growth requires courage and action. Mm-hmm. If you're not moving, you're losing. If you're not believing, you're delusional. Because you start believing things that don't even make sense. Because you start looking outwardly versus inwardly. So that's my first question to you before we get into the topic today is, when you look at growth for yourself, how have you seen yourself come from, whoa, I don't know if I can do this, to, oh snap, we are actually seeing things happen?
Well, I think it's when I trusted the calling and really leaned into it, because at first I was in denial, I think, because I'm just a web designer off there in a little dark cubicle, and never thought I would be a writer, never thought I'd be a best-selling author or a speaker, and especially a podcast host. And it just started happening so quickly. But what I kept was my genuine concern and love for others, because every single guest that I have on my podcast, they matter to me personally, and their message, and I just want to lift them up and, help them get that message out. And I learned so much from them. So this whole thing has done, it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard work. But there is a constant sense of evolvement. You evolve as your message grows. And I love where it's going. I love where it's taken me. I'm just becoming more equipped to help people. And that's all I ever really wanted to do. And so if it is truly your calling, you have to trust it. Trust the powers that be, which for me, it's my Lord and Savior. I think he's asking this of me, and I want to do exactly what he asks of me to the best of my ability. And the strength he blessed me with is loving on people, seeing the best in people, even when they don't see it or believe it. And so it's the genuine feelings and emotions that I have for people. I think that's the reason I'm growing and succeeding.
See, we don't practice this in the green room or the day before of the interview. We just go with the flow and always hit home runs, man. I'm just saying, because we've been, we all been amateur. I was striking out when I was amateur back in 2017 and prior, but we're here.
Yes.
And we're still going. That's the fun part, is that we're not just going, we're learning from all these big, amazing people who also started as amateurs, but they made certain choices. They came back from setbacks. They kept pushing themselves to learn and to reevaluate and re-execute and cut off if they need to and adjust, put themselves in position to grow to the next level. And that doesn't happen unless you move. Because if you just think about it, you just sit, woe is me, if you just keep blaming everybody on the outside, you would look in the mirror and you would say, who's this person?
I know what's happening, but when you just turn it all over to the one that's calling you, then it will go as it needs to go, and you just trust it, no matter what happens. I mean, if this flopped today, and no one wanted to read my books, then I would accept it, because I would feel strongly that that's the way it's supposed to be. But
I was gonna say, flip it again.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
No,
just stay curious too. That's what I always tell people. Curiosity does not judge, right? It listens. Shame is what's wrong with me. Curiosity is, what am I actually needing right now? Maybe I'm not hungry. Maybe I'm mentally and physically exhausted. Maybe I'm lonely, grieving, afraid, whatever it is. Curiosity doesn't excuse our behavior. It helps us understand it, right? And once we understand it, we're free. We're free to choose something healthier, better, something that serves us.
And with that said, the topic, the pattern beneath.
Yes.
We're going to dive into that. Because all of this was set up like ingredients in the kitchen to have the most amazing meal for our audience. Because when you think about the pattern beneath, what are you encouraging people to notice that they normally could be overlooking?
Well, exactly. And just to remind everyone, in case you have not ever heard anything about Delay the Binge, I help people become aware of their patterns that's been quietly destroying them or shaping their lives in a way that is not serving them well. And then they can choose intentionally who they become next. If they discover what these patterns are that's, quietly depleting them. And
Why do we tend to focus on stopping a behavior instead of asking what the emotional need is?
That's a great question, and I love it because, today I see Delay the Binge much differently than our previous interviews. And let me explain. And this is why we do what we do, the behaviors we have. It's about creating space between what happens to us and what we do next. Because a binge, a binge is not just about food. Sometimes it's social media, scrolling, or saying yes when you want to say no. We talked about that. Sometimes it's work, shopping, perfectionism, people pleasing, all the things, anger. The behavior changes. The pattern underneath often doesn't. Delay the Binge is simply learning to pause long enough to notice what's happening before it takes over. Because it can. You pause for awareness, you choose with intention, and you build momentum. But the reason we do it is because we have been, I always say brainwashed, But from very early on when we were children, we have been told what the expectations of us are as women, as men. For men, I feel so bad because weakness, if you cry, it's weakness. If you are to be the head of the household, you do all those things that sometimes, if you had your choice, you wouldn't do it. And it's the same for women. We've been told all our lives that we're the weaker sex, that we have a certain place in society, and there's a place that we are not to go, and there's a place where we can go. And we have always just followed it because that's what we do. We please. We want to live up to the expectations that are set for us. And a lot of people keep living this life that they think they're supposed to be doing. And they're thriving, Shemaya. They're promoted at work. They have the best home life, the best spouse. The children are great. They have plenty of money. Everything looks great on the outside, but on the inside, they're exhausted and depleted because they are literally ignoring or numbing themselves to the things that are causing them to overwork, overplease, do all the things that don't come natural to them, but they do it for whatever reason. And it's always usually from, our younger life, that we carry these behaviors and patterns into our adult life. And we're not even aware of it. It's just what we've always done. But then the day's going to come where you realize, I feel so dead inside. I don't feel joy. I don't feel sadness. I don't feel anything. I'm just going through the motions. Well, then you start seeking relief, especially if you're exhausted. You want a temporary, like a dopamine rush. So you turn to things that are not serving you. Behaviors, patterns, urges, binges. A lot of us, we emotionally eat. But then there's a lot of us that drink or smoke or, overwork. Work so many hours because you're going to be the best. And you are driven, and you just know that everyone's going to think you are amazing if you succeed at this thing, even though it's not what you would do. And you forget to look in, and sometimes people don't even know what they want to do because they're busy taking care of everyone else. And so if you don't look in and find out who you are, then how can you look for what you want to really do? But a lot of my clients are now just telling me the kids are grown and they've graduated college, gotten married. Now they're empty nesters and they have no idea what they want to do. They're getting ready to retire. They don't know who they are. They don't recognize themselves because guess what? They climbed that mountain. They're at the summit and there's crickets. They're like, oh, is this what I've been fighting for my whole life? So it can be very deflating and disappointing if you do that. So you have to become aware. Awareness changes everything. For years I asked myself, what's wrong with me? Today I ask, what is this behavior trying to do for me? That question changed my whole life. One of those questions, the first one, what's wrong with me, creates shame. And the other creates curiosity. And like I said, curiosity creates awareness. Awareness gives us the opportunity to choose with intention. And that's where the real change begins.
Once again, listen on Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Pam Dwyer. She is a best-selling author. Since last time we spoke, she's not just a speaker. She's also helping a lot of people. She has clients and doing a lot of things. She has a book coming out. That'll be the show notes as well. When you think about understanding what is required for you in order to see yourself get to the next level, it's one thing to dream big. It's one thing to be positive minded. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to surround yourself with good people. But when you're all on your own, and it's you in the mirror. You still got to make those decisions and take those action steps that get you to that next chapter, that next level. What are some of the things, principles, if you will, that keeps you anchored as you're navigating that journey?
Well, again, is the curiosity piece. You've really got to educate yourself. But a lot of times when you are depleted, I call it quiet depletion, and over 70% of our population is affected by it. What is it, you ask? I'm going to tell you what that is, and then I'm going to tell you what you can do to help yourself prevent going there. Well, really, quiet depletion is the phase before burnout. It's not burnout. It's not the same thing. Quiet depletion is what happens when life slowly takes more from you than you're intentionally putting back. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's why we miss it. That's why we don't see it. It's very quiet. It whispers. One more responsibility, one more deadline commitment, one more year of saying, you know what, I'll just rest later. Until one day you realize you've been surviving without realizing how long you've been running on empty. And what does that look like? Well, from the outside, they often look like they're doing great. They're dependable, successful, helpful, the one everyone calls. But inside, they're exhausted. Even when they sleep, after sleeping well, you still wake up tired. Everything feels urgent. You snap at people you care about. You feel guilt. You feel guilty shame when you rest. And you can't remember the last time that you did something simply because it brought you joy. You keep saying, once I get through this thing, but there's always another this. So you begin reaching for anything that offers quick relief or enough energy to keep going. And that's like we talked about: food, scrolling, shopping, sugar, caffeine, overworking. And it's not because those things are the answer. It's because you're trying to survive another day. And it's the accumulation of unaddressed withdrawals. So what can you do? Well, I mean, I personally have lived it. I know what it can do to me mentally and physically. And I did wait until it was too late. It did hit me hard. It attacked me physically. So, and I would not have known to call it quiet depletion back then. I just would have called it life, and the fact that I was doing for everyone else before me is what I was supposed to do. Because if I put myself first, I felt very selfish. And I've been taught my whole life, we don't do selfish things. That's not right. You think of others first. So I was productive, dependable, helpful, always there. And people relied on me. And I thought that was just the best. But I forgot to ask myself, Pam, what do you need? And I honestly couldn't answer that. I knew what everyone else's favorite color was. I knew what everyone else's favorite meal, favorite restaurant was. But if I asked myself, what's my favorite color? I had no idea. That's where we lose our identity with quiet depletion, because you're just too busy ignoring what the real issue is.
Last thing. Okay.
No, yeah.
I was going to say the last thing I want to touch on too is giving. That's something that a lot of people find themselves doing a lot. And when we are talking about the pattern beneath, the deeper story underneath the behaviors we often judge too quickly, giving is something that if we find ourselves doing it so much to the point that we have no boundaries and we find ourselves drained, have no more energy, could it possibly be that our giving is not wrapped up in our purpose versus giving just to make people happy? if that makes sense.
Right. Giving can definitely, you can overextend yourself with that. And it all relies on what's beneath that. What's the pattern your brain has created to cause you to give so much to people that you forget to take care of yourself. And even when you're exhausted, you think, wow, I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm giving so much that I can't hardly get up out of bed. You know, you might see that as a good thing. But in reality, you know, that's not reality. And you know what that is? That's survival. It's called survival. And you don't have to be from a very traumatic background to be in survival mode or autopilot, right? You're going through the motions. So, you know, children don't choose survival patterns. They adapt. But it's not just children. We adapt. If you go to a new job and it is stressful and they're demanding more and more of you, you adapt because you don't want to lose your job. And you do it. But that's where so many other things come into play, like boundaries, you know, balance. Those are the two toughest things for any human being. And as adults, we can decide, right? We can make the decision if those patterns that we've brought along with us still belong with us or not. You know, because there's good patterns too. They're not all bad. Your body and your brain is just trying to help you. And you need to learn to listen to your body. Because even when you binge on something, whatever that is, that's your body, your brain trying to communicate with you. But if you don't pause and you don't take a moment to figure that out, to really look and see what it is, then you'll never know. You're going to continue in that direction, but your body will eventually let you know it's too much. You know? And listening is critical. I had this one guest on my podcast, and I just adored her. Her name's Christine Miles. I'll give her a plug here, but she wrote a book called What Is It Costing You Not to Listen? Because she teaches listening as a skill. And when we're young, we're not taught to listen. We're taught to pay attention. And there's a big difference. I mean, that's just one of the patterns we take along with us. Because most of us in any conversation, we're really not listening. We're either waiting for them to stop talking so we can start talking, or we're just not interested in what they're saying. And so, yeah, what's that, Shemaiah?
It's almost like I had this conversation years ago with someone, what you're saying about conversation and listening to understand versus listening to respond. It's like playing catch in the backyard. You know, imagine you have a glove and the other person has a glove and you're throwing the baseball back and forth. It's great, right?
Yeah.
Until the other person keeps it. And they don't throw it back at you, or they throw it and they throw it, you know, in the wrong direction. And you're like, wait, what? I'm right here. You threw it way to the right or way to the left. I think that's what happens when we fail to listen. It's an art. It's something that we don't like to do. Let's think about it. If you are talking about your favorite sport team and someone has something to say about their team, mm-hmm. You can't wait for your turn to say your point and mm-hmm. double down on that. Because if you're passionate about something, you're just going to have that urge. But in everything that you say, we have to slow down. We have to put brakes. We have to learn from each other like we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And the conversation flows.
Sure, it does. I mean, and the best question you can ask to practice listening, I'll give everybody a little tip here. So if you're in a conversation and you find yourself wandering, not really paying attention, or just worried about what you're going to say next, you can say to that person, really, tell me more. Can you tell me more? And then that person feels so important and validated Like, wow, she's interested in what I'm saying. And I mean, I use that on my own podcast. And I've learned to listen very well, because you have to, flow and timing, all that's important. It's been a huge learning lesson for me on how to really bring out the best in your guests. I mean, it's my favorite thing. I love podcasting so much because of the people that I meet. Beautiful, wonderful people wanting to make a difference, and they're genuinely curious, and they all leave me thinking differently. And so just like, the Christine on listening, that really impacted me. And I'm so passionate about impacting people with just the smallest of effort. I've told that story before. Many people have impacted me with just a few seconds. And to this day, I remember what I learned from them, and I apply it. Because, sometimes even in the best of homes, you're not really taught how to behave. You're taught how to pay attention and how to do what you're told to do. As a retired youth minister, that's the one complaint all the youth of any age would ever tell me. They would say, I just feel like I'm a robot. I have to ask to go to the bathroom. I can't have an opinion different than my parents. I have to do exactly what I'm told, when I'm told. They just don't have a voice. And on a podcast, guess what? I give everyone a voice. Like Shemaiah, you're giving me a voice right now. And that matters a lot, to give someone a voice, to be heard, to be seen. And all those things, if they're not happening, that's when we start quietly depleting, and then we start behaving with unhealthy habits, because we're just looking for a quick release. Your brain remembers, the last time she ate that chocolate cake, she felt so much better. Well, the next day she didn't, but I don't care. This is all about now.
Yeah, in the moment, it was flavorful. It was
wonderful.
It was heaven. And then you wake up and it's like, oh, snap, what in the world? Yeah. Been there, done that. I mean, that's life. But time is already going crazy short. So wrapping up.
Yeah.
Talking to our guest, Pam Dwyer. She has a book coming out soon, Delayed the Binge. I might have her drop her link real quick and tell us how we can stay connected. And when can we expect new things popping up for you?
Well, the goal was before the end of year. And my publisher is just not happy with me, because Delay the Binge has been evolving so much that I change everything in the book. I keep rewriting it because then I learn more. But a lot of authors have advised me that you just finish it now. And, if you want to write another book, another edition, or just something that complements the first one. But you need to just find your closing and publish the book. There's a podcast out there. It's called Finish the Damn Book. For anybody that wants to write a book, and I love it. It's one of my favorite ones to listen to, because they talk to authors and publishers and all these people and how to publish a book, how to write one, and truly we all have a story. And the reason we share our stories is because someone, even if it's one person, can see themselves in the story, and it inspires them. It helps them. It gives them hope. And if you want to feel all that, what it feels like to give people hope, inspiration, then share your story. And I promise you, that's how we heal, is by doing things for other people. So just remember, ask yourself these questions all the time. Whenever you binge, whenever you do unhealthy things that you know are not good for you, you ask, what is my body trying to tell me right now? What is this emotion trying to tell me? What is the behavior trying to tell me? We can't change what we're unwilling to listen to. The pause gives us the opportunity to listen before life forces us to.
Yeah. There's nothing else I'm going to say outside of this one last thought, and that is, we also have to ask ourselves, is this helping me grow, or is it not helping me grow? And when we can be honest with that, then the whole binge, the whole topics of what we're talking about, the patterns beneath, it starts, it's funny, it's like a fog, right? It starts to fade away and you start to see the truth. And when you see that, that's when it starts to get exciting. That's when you're like, okay, all gas, no brakes until I need to stop, because you do need to stop sometime. But just having that mindset, man, I'm fired up, I'm motivated. And it's crazy because once you get that emotion, if we're not careful, that emotion can distract us as well. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and also a lot of people are talking about these things. Okay. And it's like kumbaya, oh, yes, we get it, Pam. We understand what you're trying to say to us, but actually living it, actually pausing in the moment when we're just upset anyway. And I just tell them, yes, but you need to start practicing now, small little intentional steps, and give your emotions a voice. Let your emotions speak to you. And I promise, if you just do it a little bit each day and give yourself some grace when you don't, because time's going to pass anyway, so you might as well use it in a positive way, in little small steps, and you can only improve. Time's going to pass anyway. Just remember that. And I didn't give you my links, Shemaiah, I'm sorry. So delaythebinge.com, you can find out all about patterns and behaviors and things and action steps you can take right now, to start. Just start doing one little thing each day to make a change so you can find the person you were always meant to be. You can also go to pamdwyer.com. That'll take you to my main website. And Shemaiah, I do want to talk about, I am so excited about my 2 newsletters. They're amazing. So one is called Behind the Mic. So I take the guest of the week on my podcast and I use their message all week long, because repetition is how you really drive it home. So in my PJ Hamilton short stories, my life lesson, my actual memory from my past, I use that message to create a story, a memory. And then we go to drop Behind the Mic. And that is all about how I felt, how it impacted me, what I thought when record turned off. So I make a little 2-minute video saying, wow, this is what I just learned. This person is incredible. La, 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 la. That's in the newsletter too, is the video. And just about how you can apply their message in your life. Actually do it instead of just talk about it. And then, of course, we have the episode, the podcast episode. But you got to sign up on my email list, people. So I just want to have a community with you. I want to reach out and share all that I'm learning with all of you. And the way to do that is to join newsletter.delaythebinge.com for Behind the Mic, or you can go to newsletter.authorpjhamilton.com for my amazing short stories.
That's great. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know people are like, Shemaiah, when is this going to end? I said, well, when you got 2 people who host a show, we're never going to end. I mean, when you said all that, I literally had 3 more points pop in my head. I'm like, yo, we can really talk about this now. And we can't. I know we can't. But I would say this, in all that we've said, make it all full circle. If you have someone who wants to start right now, right? Mm-hmm. Cut to the chase, cut the fluff. If I can start right now when this show episode's over, what's one thing that you would tell them? Don't be afraid to try. Take this action. Start here. Start now. What's your message to that viewer, that listener, to get them started today?
First, I want to tell them to remember that your behaviors are not your identity. They're information. Your feelings deserve to be heard, but they don't have to have the final say. The patterns you've been living by may have protected you once or twice or many more. They may even have helped you become successful, but success doesn't always mean a pattern is still serving you. One of the things I've become most curious about is boredom. So watch that. When you're bored, that's just a message. So I guess what I would tell you to do is ask yourself, what am I actually hungry for? And it's not always food. What's missing? If you start getting curious and asking yourselves these questions, it's where awareness becomes choice, and awareness is where freedom begins. So that's what I would tell you to do, is to start asking yourself and answering in a journal. Yes, people, you need to write in a journal so that you can find your patterns.
She dropped about 2 mics. If you're watching this on YouTube, I was doing these mic drop moments because I'm like, all right, she dropping gems here. And I'm like, man, this is terrible. You never should have 2 hosts do an episode. I'm telling you, it's going to turn to like 2 hours, but we're not doing that. We're ending it right now. Yeah. Cliffhanger. And I want you to give your website one more time so we can officially roll the credits and let people binge a little bit for dinner or their snack, because I know we kind of held them a little bit longer than normal. But repeat your website and also the book title and what you want people to do in supporting you, because that's a call to action that I want listeners to always do. Find a way to support these people because they're doing a great service. So,
well, it's delaythebinge.com and pamdwyer.com. And then my YouTube channel is amazing. I spend a lot of time on that. So it's at Pam Dwyer Speaker, which that's the handle on all my socials, Pam Dwyer Speaker. And just remember to pause for awareness, choose with intention, and build with momentum. That's my slogan. I'm telling you, it works. But my book, Delay the Binge, we don't have a publish date yet, but stay tuned for that. And there's another book too, a second book from the Piney Woods. It's called Branches. That one will be published probably before Delay the Binge. But just go and just be fed. Go out and learn and get curious and, take advantage of my newsletters. You can learn a lot about life and delaying the binge, pausing.
And with that said, y'all get some snacks, get some dinner, enjoy your rest of your night, day, or wherever you are in this world. And like always, thank you, Pam, for your time.
You're so welcome. Thanks for giving me a voice, Shemaya.